Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Apparently, I cannot spell tonight because that's the third thing that I've spelled wrong tonight. So, I hope everybody's doing well. We are T minus 28 minutes, 18 seconds until a historic SpaceX launch. Why is it historic? Well, tonight is the 17th. That's correct. 1-7 flight for this booster. That breaks a record for reusability. So this will be our 17th flight of this booster. So that's the first stage of the rocket, which burns RP1 on rocket grade kerosene and liquid oxygen. So that's where we're at. That's what's going on right now. Yeah. Everything looks to go. They were originally supposed to launch about 10:47 p.m. That was pushed. Now we are delayed, but we are back on track and on count. So we should be in the clear. They've already started loading liquid oxygen and that RP1 into the first stage of the rocket. So we'll say hello and get right into it. Dog Mama, hello. A little bit, just because they delayed it. There's me. Me again. Bobby. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. They were waiting for Shenny, so it's Shenny's fault. Yes. This is the booster that lands itself. This will be the 17th landing for this booster. This is live flight. They're launching 22 Starlink satellites to low Earth orbit from Space Launch Complex SLC. See, there's my dyslexia again tonight. I don't know what the hell's going on. SLC, Space Launch Complex number 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. For some reason, they can't launch tonight. There is a backup launch at 11:38 p.m. tomorrow, and then around 2 a.m. As well on September 20th. So, and then they have a ton of backup opportunities coming up in the week. So, no. I actually have Starship news. We could go over that for a minute. Let me pull that up. Oh, I didn't share anything yet. Good on me. This is the one, the only, the Starship. This is going to be the next flight ready. It is actually destacked right now. We'll get a little bit more information once they stack it and arm FTS. What's up, Matt Self? Good to see you. Of course, now I'm not going to find it, but there was a public interest message from to the Federal Aviation Administration, and they said that they have not demonstrated that SpaceX is available or made the necessary fixes for them to go ahead with the launch. So, south tip of Texas. Yep, Brownsville, Texas. Actually Boca Chica or South Padre Island, but yeah, Brownsville is the now they're saying that no, that was a week ago. So yes, it is destacked at this point. I'm trying to find the note from the FAA, but I'm not finding it, of course, and I didn't save it, so that's always beautiful. But this is what it looks like right now. So while waiting for FAA approval, Starship has been destacked for additional work for the second test launch, which is easier to be done in lower configuration. Plus, either way, it had to be destacked because, like I said, they have to arm the flight termination system, and they don't want to do that until it's ready to go. So, they won't arm FTS and put it back together until the last possible minute for safety concerns, because FTS is it's essentially a system to explode the rocket, blow up the rocket. And obviously we don't want that unless we absolutely have to. So, but we have to be able to have that possibility just in case. So, some other SpaceX news. Elon Musk is suing the United States government for the whole refugees and his hiring practices, claiming that it violates the U.S. Constitution. So that would be interesting to watch as well. At the same time, the Department of Justice is filing criminal charges, and it's conceivable to think that they will not get resolution until, for this launch issue, until it is placed through the system, and that's taken care of with Department of Justice and that suit, just because we all know how our government works. So we're at T-minus 20 minutes currently. So we are well underway for fueling. They are green right now. There's an 80% chance with weather. And a newest update is a 90% favorability on weather. So that's cool. I'm trying to see if this does. Oh, yeah. So this is, we always talk about this, but we're normally offline because it takes a while to get there. This is what the Starlink satellite deployment process looks like. Again, they put 22 Starlink satellites on the rockets and they send them up. So this is what that process looks like from space. They float out the stack, pull a rod, and then they separate as they go. There's like a stacking rod, and the stacking rod comes free, and they float apart. So, really cool to see. But of course, I'm not seeing that paper from the FAA, because why would it? Oh, here. Found it. SpaceX conducted a test flight of the Starship Super Heavy at Boca Chica, Texas on April 20th, 2023. As a result of that launch, SpaceX completed a mishap investigation with FAA oversight. This investigation analyzed the launch, mishap events, and corrective actions. Before it's authorized to conduct a second Starship Super Heavy launch, SpaceX must obtain a modified license from the FAA that addresses all safety, environmental, and other regulatory requirements. As part of that license application determination process, the FAA will review new environmental information, including changes related to the launch pad, as well as other proposed vehicle and flight modifications. The FAA will complete a written reevaluation to the 2022 programmatic environmental assessment, evaluating the new environmental information, including Endangered Species Act consultation with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Bullshit. If the FAA determines through the WR process that the contents of the PEA do not remain valid, in light of changes proposed for Flight 2, additional environment review will be required. Accordingly, the FAA has not authorized SpaceX proposed Flight 2. The FAA will provide updates with notification of any license determination or results of additional environmental review. So we're in our 6th shell right now, Matt. I mean, ideally they're going to cycle through, but the full shell, I think they plan to have it complete 2025, I believe, is their target date. Although I think they're actually ahead of schedule. And yes, they deorbit satellites that are out of commission and reintroduce new ones. Of course, when Starship comes online, it would be much easier because then they can put at least 100, if not more, up in a single launch instead of a max of 22, which they have currently. So, yeah, it's not quite 6 hours. It's like 5. I've done the drive from Houston, so it's a little bit over 5. Plus, you know how they drive in Texas. You can make it in 4.5 if you're, you know what I'm saying. Off topic, but ready for fireworks in Canada tomorrow. It's Million Man March, standing up against the schools, the LGBT. Oh wait, hang on. I'll let your president do it.
I will never apologize for standing up for an LGBTQ2+ kids' rights.
He says it so much better than I ever could. Agenda and the DEI woke bullshit. Our government and the teachers union. Well, that should be interesting. I'll keep my eye on Canada then. Spend a ton of cash to pay anti-people to attack the protesters and been calling for violence. Of course they have. They're going to lose a lot if they piss Musk off. And like I said, it wouldn't be out of Musk's. The man has the resources to move both of these companies to somebody that would be much, much more conducive to them succeeding. I can think of a dozen countries right offhand that would be happy to have him.
By his count, there have been 5,113 Starlink satellites that have launched to date. Again,
all right, we're not going to listen to this because I don't know whose channel this is. He does it best, and it is so elegant. He's an exciting man. I don't think China, because China can just rev him off. I know there's some African nations he is African. There's some African nations that have made him offers. I know Russia would love to have his services. He has history there, but New Zealand's trying to get in the launch business. They obviously have rocket labs down there, so there are several places that he could go. He could even just take it 5 minutes across the border and go to Mexico. I don't think that's what he wants to do, but it's possible. The problem is it's such a high latitude that it's really hard to get a whole hell of a lot. Especially with like flights to places like the International Space Station. You'd waste so much fuel and resource trying to get back across to a good orbit that I'm not sure it'd be terribly worth it. But yeah, there's certain things that he could do. All right, he's going to do his overlay, so I'll narrate. First stage has 9 Merlin 1D engines. They burn RP1, rocket grid kerosene, and liquid oxygen. Yes. Also, let's be fair. You guys have made one thing, and that was an arm for the space shuttle. And you brought it to us, and we're like, oh, cute. I'll take it. No, you guys are great, but plus I don't know if you guys have a launch facility anywhere close, so let's see where we're at. There's the interstage. It's just a hollow tube where they connect all the connections. They would put an apology on the moon. Sorry, we kicked up some dust there, eh? Sorry. We'll clean up, we'll bring a broom next time. We're gonna play curling up here, but doesn't work. Sorry. Alright, so we'll come over here. Musk would just find an island and build offshore platforms in the East Caribbean and the international waters and be a sole capitalist launch nation to contract with International Space Program. That's very possible. He has Demios and I forget what he named the other one, but he actually bought 2 platforms that are in Port of Brownsville, and he wanted to launch super heavy from them eventually. So I know that they're rebuilding those as we speak. SeaWorld Canada is up for sale? I know. So we have the upper stage Merlin vacuum engine that's on the upper stage. And then, as you all know, we have the payload fairing. It's a clamshell payload fairing. Those 2 split apart, shoot to the side, exposing the payload to the vacuum of space. Sorry for colonizing the moon, eh? I do good Canadian digger, and you know it. I'm still waiting for SpaceX to bring it up. They're only doing it on Twitter now, which we learned last time. So, looks like weather's good for launch. No storms. Upper level winds are within working order. So I would put a very good chance on a flight here. I don't know what the original delay was. I mean, I do. So let's see. I'm looking to see if there's anything. This guy's somebody that I've always wanted to reach out to, but I forget every time. This guy.
Starship gets pulled apart after the FAA provides a general no earlier than date. SpaceX is still in the left's crosshairs, but for new reasons. Starlink increases its flock, the Europeans adopt a Dragon, and we finish with today's honorable mention. I'm Kevin, and this is SpaceX in the News.
SpaceX in the News, Kevin. If anybody watches him, I'd love to stream with him sometime. He's like one of my top 5. He's a good guy. He's just in Ohio. Space eccentric. He's on YouTube. Sorry, I was scrolling to see if there was any updates and just looking. The Saudis would also love to have Elon and have actually they financed part of the Twitter purchase, so that might be the first place he goes if he decides to leave. Probably not. I know on my Meta conference, way before I started streaming, but I think he has great information, but he's way too big for me. So, not that I don't. I think he's generally pretty well on, and he has a lot of information and a lot of connections to SpaceX. But yeah, I don't see that ever happening. Would I accept an invitation? Hell yeah, I would in a second, but I just don't see it happening. I was trying not to be silent. Probably should have waited to click on the chat until after I decided what I wanted to say. It is, but it's close. So here's our Booster 1060 flight history. GPS-3 was its maiden voyage. Then we had a couple Starlink missions. The Turksat. Then more Starlink missions, because as soon as they start pushing out that reliability factor to a place where it's untested, other companies don't want to buy space on that rocket. Remarkably so, because they have a lot of money and resources into what they're putting up. But Transporter 2 was a rideshare mission, so that was cheap. That's why that one got in so late. And then I believe the rest of it is just Starlink. So Starlink 414, Starlink 419. But yeah, Matt, if you ever watch Tim and want to drop my name, go for it. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true, Matt. That's true. I might reach out at some point, but Transporter 6 that is a rideshare, so cheap spots, and it was going up with Starlink satellites, and then we have another Starlink launch, and number 17 will be a Starlink launch as well. I'm only stealing this guy's footage for as long as it takes until SpaceX brings up their flight. Let's see, that's awesome, brother. I appreciate it. Still don't have a live. Elon, if you're watching, one of the things you need to put on Twitter is like an upcoming, because if we don't know it's coming up, then obviously we're not going to watch, unless you know something's going on. So I think you'd get a lot more views if you were to do something like that, because there's not even anything in like trending or anything. So it's just on their website. A live webcast of this mission will begin on SpaceX about 5 minutes prior to liftoff. So there's not even a link to their thing, which certainly could become. I just wish they had like an upcoming like they do on YouTube. There we go. Now we got it. And there's the big, beautiful rocket. So Strongback's been pulled back. We are fully fueled. Or should be. Pretty close. It's already starting to undergo engine chill, and that is, once again, to flow that cryo fluid through the engines so that they can pre-chill them before they get the shock from the hot gases and the cold cryo fuels. Sup, savages, man. I'm modding. Good logic. Bounce back and forth. All right, Jacob. We are 3 minutes from launch. T-minus 3 minutes, so. Twitter would benefit from an icon lab to current company live events like Apple Lives. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Hey, what's up, Oz? Nope, you're just in time. T-minus 3. Complete. And then we get a LOX load call out, so a little bit ahead of the game. We should get further callouts here in just a moment. It will be landing on the drone ship Shortfall of Gravitas in the Atlantic Ocean this evening. So the next call out we should get is second stage loading complete. Then we will get a internal power. So where Falcon 9 will be on internal power and internal computers. Then we will get a go no go poll and a go for launch. And then it will just all be to the countdown at that point. So we are progressing. Everything still looks golden. And we're about 2 minutes out. That's awesome, Jacob. Rumble's easy to forget. I'm not going to lie.
Box load is complete.
And there's our stage 2 locks call out. So we are fully fueled. We're about 40 seconds away from Dragon on internal power and internal computers.
Ground gas closeouts.
So they're closing out those ground gas tubes and purging the lines so they don't get explosion back into the fill tanks, which would be bad. And again, this is the historic 17th flight for this particular Falcon 9 rocket, B-1060.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
Got a startup call out, so it is on internal power and internal computers. The rocket is controlling everything from this point forward. We're just along for the ride. T-minus 45 is when the go, no-go poll will be complete.
Go for launch.
And we have a good go for launch. Orbit, it is very phallic. They all are. So
T-minus 30 seconds and counting.
T-minus 30, so we're all... It's all up to the rocket. Go SpaceX, go Falcon 9.
T-minus 15 seconds.
You can hear that venting. You can see the deluge, the water deluge on the left for sound suppression.
4, 3, 2, 1. Mission. Liftoff.
Vehicle is pitching downrange.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
Our first call out on the other side will be coming up on max Q. Again, that's the maximum aerodynamic pressure. That's where the atmosphere and the speed of the rocket are at an apex with each other. That's a maximum pressure, so if the rocket survives that, then there's a very good chance that it's good for flight. So now they'll begin the throttle down of those 9 Merlin engines.
Supersonic.
And we're supersonic. We just crossed that 1,000 kilometers per hour. And good call out from Max Q.
Max Q.
Perfect. Push to Max Q. Is there a general retirement outlines for SpaceX rocket, or is it just based on inspection data post-launch? It originally was 7, Matt. Since they retired a couple boosters at 7, but then
MVAC shell has started.
Nominal trajectory.
So we got an MVAC chill, so they're starting engine chill on that second stage vacuum optimized engine. And we should get MECO here in about 1 minute. MECO's main engine cutoff. So Matt, they started inspecting them, saying that they had a lot of life on them, and why don't we just push them? So this has been kind of their test case, and 17 is a lot. So they were originally designed for 7. Since they were in such good condition, they decided to keep pushing them, which I think was a good move. We start seeing that plume as the atmosphere starts getting less and less, so there's less pressure on those gases coming out.
Stage separation confirmed.
And we have good MECO, good stage sep, and just like every other SpaceX launch, this one is going perfectly. So there's our MVAC. So that bell is much larger than the Merlins on the first stage because it is optimized for vacuum conditions, the vacuum of space. Those titanium grid fins steer the rocket back down to the surface of Earth to land in communication with the autonomous drone ship. They're machined out of a single piece
separation confirmed.
of titanium, and they're pretty big. What's up, Snafu? And again, on that right side, you're going to have your second stage telemetry, and that's your payload and your second stage with that vacuum optimized engine. On the left side, you have the first stage booster that will be returning to Earth to land on the drone ship. So it's doing its flip maneuver. We'll see an entry burn. Then it will start bleeding off speed as it encounters the upper atmosphere, and that will continue. They'll do a landing burn and touchdown on the drone ship.
All vehicles, nominal trajectory.
Everything nominal once again. That's where my Cadillac converter went. I mean, they just have it down. Like everything, it cannot be said enough how great they do with everything. It's pretty impressive for repeatable results like this with a 17th flight, a record 17 times that first stage has went to space and came home, hopefully.
Acquisition of signal, Bermuda.
Yeah, 90s at night is rough. Matt, fall is here in Michigan, I can tell you that much. So you can see that altitude starting to come down here. Thank you, Red, for the super sticker. I actually can't see super stickers over here, but I want to see. Emoji sunglasses guy. Is the second stage recoverable at all? It is not recoverable. It's small enough and there isn't a ton of complexity to it. There just hasn't been a need to recover it. First stage is what does all the work and incurs all the cost. I don't see them just because of the reentry.
Stage 1 FTS is saved.
That flash, is that what you're talking about? That is the entry burn from the engine's relights. So they do there's a little bit where they're starting to hit atmosphere and then they relight the engines to slow it down. As you can see, speed on the left is bleeding quickly. But Matt, back to your question. Once it reaches deployment,
FTS is saved.
Once it reaches deployment, we're going to be in that 17 to 20,000, depending on its final parking orbit. You're going to be in that 17 to 25,000 kilometers per hour. So to slow it down and then re-enter it, because you can see the distance and altitude, First stage gets to about 105 kilometers. That second stage will be around 200. So the shielding that you would have to put for the aerodynamic stresses and then to set it back down, because it wouldn't be able to land under its own power. Development costs, it's cheaper to just let it burn up. So
Stage 1 transonic.
So we're slowing back down on that first stage. About 6.5 kilometers in altitude. We're at about 1,000 kilometers per hour. We should see that landing burn here in about probably 10-15 seconds.
Terminal guidance. Stage 1 landing burn.
And right on time, right in the middle. Oh. No. There we go. That was a Twitter issue.
Landing leg deploy.
And that's not uncommon. That first frame always freezes for whatever reason. So. And we have a good touchdown. Oh, thanks, Matt. Also, here's some shekels for your awesome coverage. Literally the only continuous live coverage of space shenanigans I find valuable. Get you a nice 1/16 tank of gas on me. It is appreciated, buddy. I appreciate it.
Expected loss of signal, Cape.
Impact shutdown.
So now it's in its proper orbit. Well, it's going to drift to its proper orbit, so they shut down MVAC. And that's all SpaceX likes to give us. So, another successful launch and landing. They really do it better than anybody else. And again, just to think about it, it has been 9 minutes exactly. 9 minutes exactly, and they've already delivered a payload to space and returned the first stage to Earth. So it's pretty impressive. It's really neat. I enjoy watching them. So with that being said, that's going to do it for me, because I streamed like 4 times today. So, but yeah, thanks for stopping by, everybody. Thanks for the super chat and the super sticker, Red and Matt. And I will catch you guys all. What is the setup time to build a launch outside of manufacturing? What is the setup time to build a launch outside of manufacturing? That's a really in-depth question, Matt. Yeah, I apologize. I can't give you a good answer because it depends on a lot of different things. They're usually a couple months out, though, once they coordinate, get payload sizes, get all the data together. So it's not a quick turn. Obviously, the Starlinks, they can get them up pretty quickly. And if there's a canceled payload, they can get them up pretty quickly. So, but all right, y'all. Well, thanks for stopping by. I will catch you all very soon. You guys have a great night, and we'll talk later. If I can find my button. There it is.